is this deal with the chipset? If you have heard anything or read anything on PC hardware repair, you have probably heard the term NOT bridge thrown around, or memory controller hub. Here is the deal. The central processor unit, or CPU, is what we call the brains of the operation. It's where all of the input-output for the entire system goes through. And the CPU operates very closely with your memory, with your RAM, that's your temporary workspace area, and all of the peripheral devices on the system, not to mention the hard disk subsystem and the actual operating system and application that the computer operator are using. Well, the CPU gets somehow by means of the chipset. So the core motherboard that you will buy oftentimes if you are going to kit or build a machine from scratch, you will buy the motherboard without a processor. And so one of your main research questions is going to be, what kind of chipset is on that motherboard and what CPUs can support? Now, in the picture you see at right, you will see those two VIA chips there, one in the upper center and one in the lower right. This is a traditional architecture for the chipset, where you have got the upper NOT bridge chip that connects to your high-speed buses in the memory, and the south bridge chip down below that connects your input-output and what generally, historically, has been considered the lower priority devices. Now, you will see synonymously instead of NOT bridge, and notice that NOT bridge can be two words or one word. Same with south bridge. It really doesn't matter as long as you know what we're talking about is the same thing. Well, Intel has developed this naming of memory controller hub for the north bridge and I/O controller hub for the south bridge. I like that because it gives you a clear idea of what those chips in the chipset are responsible for. Now, let me show you a really cool picture of what historical north bridge, south bridge architecture. You will notice first of all that the central processor unit at the top of the diagram connects via high-speed collection of copper traces. Remember, it's all physical down on the motherboard, called the front side bus, and it's used to when you were spacing a computer, you would look at the speed in megahertz. Millions of instructions per second of the front side bus. Height numbers will be better because height numbers denote you can push more data per unit time. The front side bus is what links the CPU to the north bridge, which in turn is the chipset component that connects you high-speed interfaces. Memory. Of course, you think memory and the CPU, they're two pieces in mode. They're fingers and gloves. Well, insert corny metaphor there, you need to have very quick access between the CPU and the memory to get work done. And that's true. Now, it used to be the Accelerated Graphics Port, or AGP, that was at one time a high-speed graphics bus. It still is technical term, but nowadays PCI Express has taken over. So you will find that the north bridge connects to the PCI bus, because let's look at it. Depending upon what you're doing, whether it's gaming, graphic design, video editing, you might need a very beefy video card that, as far as you're concerned as the user, that is high priority data. So you will want that on the north bridge. Now the south bridge you see down below connects to the expansion, your I/O devices, input output, your PCI bus, and we will talk about PCI and PIC Express shortly, your flash ROM. Your BIOS is part of the south bridge architecture for low-cost commodity motherboards that have a lot of integrated components like an onboard graphics controller that's on this lower south bridge. So that's why if you buy an expensive computer that has what are called integrated graphics, you're going to get pretty disappointing performance, because from the motherboard perspective that graphics controller is low priority. And then you see down there serial port, parallel port, floppy, keyboard and mouse. Those are all part of the south bridge. Now, a trend in technology is consolidation. So what we're finding nowadays and more is that processors are taking on more and more of the chipset roles on the die itself. DIA is the technical term for the processor, the central processor unit, the physical unit. In particular, the Intel Core i7 has an onboard memory controller hub, and you can see that in this really awesome diagram at right. This is actually a picture of an i7, and you can see it's a 4-core processor. So it's essentially 4 processors on one die, and we have that integrated memory controller built right on the CPU. And notice that the PCI Express bus is also on the CPU. What that means at the end of the day is that you get much better performance, because we don't have to use a front side bus. We can just go directly out into the system bus to do our data control and memory addressing.